All right, so Thor: Love and Thunder is available now in theaters, and this is my non-spoiler review. So this is for those of you who have either seen the movie and want to hear my thoughts about it without getting into any specific things, just my overall thoughts. This is for those people as well as the people who haven't been able to see the movie yet because it literally just came out, and I'm sure a lot of theaters are fully packed for this show, so it's going to be kind of hard to get tickets at least in the first few days. But yeah, non-spoiler review. Definitely have some things I can say about it and some things I can't. So gonna try to, I don't know, weave in between what I can talk about and what I can't. And I mean, I'll talk about some elements, but I won't go into too specific detail. Um, so yeah, if you don't want to hear any spoilers for Thor: Love and Thunder, then this is the video for you. And before I get into anything, I do have to thank today's sponsor, which is Audible. If you don't know, Audible is the best platform out there when it comes to audiobooks, podcasts, originals. They have meditation, guided meditation, sleep sounds. They have all sorts of stuff on there. When most people think of Audible, they're just like, oh, audiobooks. But they do a lot more than that. I mean, the podcasts on there are great. They have great originals as well. They're killing it, and I don't think people give them quite enough respect. But yeah, right now, if you go to audibletrial.com/popculturepodcast, you can get yourself a 30-day free trial of Audible Premium Plus, which will give you 1 credit or 2 for Prime members, which you can use towards any of their premium selections. So most of that does go towards the audiobooks. So if there's a book that you've been meaning to read lately and you're not much of a reader like I am, then maybe you can go find it on there and listen to it instead. Um, and if audiobooks aren't your thing, pop on a podcast. If you need something to help you sleep at night, I use sleep sounds every night. I can't sleep without them. And Audible has that for you. If you like to meditate, they have guided meditation, like I said. All sorts of stuff on there. And like I said, that is audibletrial.com/popculturepodcast for that 30-day free trial of Audible Premium Plus. Thank you so much to Audible for sponsoring this video. And let's get into my review for Thor: Love and Thunder. Non-spoiler review, that is. But yeah, let me catch my breath here. I didn't really breathe a whole lot during that ad read. But yeah, Thor: Love and Thunder, I mean, I gotta be honest with you, it's not my favorite Marvel movie. There have been very few movies and TV shows from Marvel over the past, like, maybe 2 years, I would say, that have really just, like, wowed me completely and have won me over. There's 2 that I'm thinking of right now. There's a show and a movie. Well, I guess 2 movies. No Way Home, obviously an amazing movie. Love Spider-Man. He's my favorite comic book character. He's my favorite superhero in general. So, yeah, I love that movie. And then, obviously, having them bring together the 3 Spider-Men as well as their arsenal of villains, I thought was very cool. And they executed the story very well, too. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, I think I've probably rewatched that movie more times than any other Marvel movie, which is surprising because it's an origin movie for the most part. And while the origin movies are good, like Iron Man, I really like Captain America: The First Avenger. Most people don't, but I like that one as well. I mean, a lot of the origin movies are pretty decent for the most part. I mean, there's some that aren't great, like Thor, not my favorite, but yeah, Shang-Chi, definitely one of my favorite Marvel movies. Maybe not my favorite in general, but it's definitely in the S tier for me. And then Loki, that show. Love that show so much. Out of all the Marvel shows so far, that is my favorite. Miss Marvel is doing pretty good. That show's about second place right now in terms of my ranking of the shows, but that just goes to show that Marvel hasn't had a whole lot that's really, like I said, wowed me over the last few years or so. I mean, Multiverse of Madness, I really did not like too much, and I saw that 3 times in the theaters. Honestly, just the one time was kind of enough for me with that one, but I'm a Marvel nerd, so I went to see it 3 times, and plus it helps my review. With Thor: Love and Thunder, I actually saw it 2 times in the same day on Thursday, July 7th. And I wasn't mad watching it twice, especially since it's a very short movie. You can definitely feel that runtime when you're watching it. You're just like, oh my gosh, it feels like it's about to wrap up, and it does. this movie definitely could have done with maybe like 15-20 minutes more, actually like fleshing out certain things and taking some things a little more seriously. I think that's going to be a lot of the complaints that people have about this movie, is that, there's a lot of serious topics that they're dealing with in this movie. You have death, you have sickness. I don't want to get too specific with that. But if you're a Marvel fan, you can kind of see where I'm going with that. And also the trailers are enough to be like, that might happen. But yeah. I mean, it deals with some darker themes, and you have a darker villain, Gore the God Butcher, who is literally supposed to be going around killing gods and just leaving a trail of destruction in his path. Um, he's a creepy villain. Christian Bale does him quite well for what he's given, but he doesn't end up being like one of the stronger villains that we've had in any of the Marvel movies or shows. And I don't mean stronger in terms of like his strength, because he's a very powerful, very powerful being with the power that he possesses in here. But in terms of just like the stakes didn't feel as high in this movie as they do in a like Multiverse of Madness, even, because what you're dealing with there is the multiverse. With this, it's just like a dude going around killing gods, and some of the gods are kind of assholes anyway. So it's like, I don't know, in a way, just a little bit, you're somewhat rooting for him. Which, I mean, I'll give it to the movie. Sometimes, like, rooting for the villain in some ways can actually help make it a better villain. And I think it did that a little bit for me. The main thing that I like about him is just the creep factor. He is a very creepy villain. The design on him, I think, it looks really good. In the trailers, there's some black and white scenes, and seeing him in black and white just makes him even creepier. I'll get into that in a little bit here if I remember. The stuff with what they do with color and black and white. But yeah, overall, Christian Bale did the best with what he was given, and I don't think it's the worst MCU villain we've had. It's definitely better than Malekith from Thor: The Dark World, but it doesn't surpass something like Thanos. It's hard to surpass Thanos. That's like the big bad, but I mean, I wouldn't say it's any better than Ultron, I guess I would say. Maybe a little bit better than Ultron, but not by a whole lot. I don't think Ultron was that menacing. I mean, the stakes were pretty high in Age of Ultron, but in terms of just like being a decent fleshed out villain, I mean, I think it's a little bit better than Ultron, but not by a whole lot, because at least with him, he has more human aspects to him and certain things that happen to him that make you feel bad for him. But, excuse me. Yeah. Gore the God Butcher, that's my first point there. Decent villain, but not good enough. Is he better than Hela? I would say he is. But at the same time, I wouldn't say I like this movie better than Thor Ragnarok. That feels like a very perfect Thor movie for me. It's definitely not the best in all of the MCU, but I think I would still put it in like the A or S tier, because it's still one of my favorites. But I mean, Taika Waititi's direction, both in this movie and Thor Ragnarok, I thought was really good. At times it's just the humor that really brings it down, because there's supposed to be things that you're taking seriously, and it's hard to do that at times when they just undercut a serious moment with a joke. Sometimes it works to break some tension, but for the most part, it's just kind of interrupting the thing that I wanted most. The thing I love about Miss Marvel so much is how they humanize the characters, and they have the funny moments, but, it really is just like to have that levity, and I don't know, just it feels more natural in Miss Marvel than it does here, the jokes feel kind of forced in a way sometimes, and like in the trailers you saw those two goats, I fucking hated them. It's basically that screaming goat thing from like back when YouTube was first a thing. Like, we all remember that screaming goat video. Like that became unfunny like over 5 years ago now. I don't know why they used that in this movie. I mean, I guess it's comic book accurate, but they have to make them scream like that. It was just the most annoying thing in the world. They probably thought they were so funny too, but the funniest thing about this movie for sure is still Korg. I think the funniest thing about Thor Ragnarok was Korg, even though Thor had some really funny moments in there, Korg was the thing that made me laugh the most, and he definitely did that here. He did annoy me just a little bit at times, but not enough to like ruin anything for me. Thor is pretty funny in this movie. Jane has some funny moments. Valkyrie kind of has some funny moments. Even Gore, in a way, kind of has like one or two maybe slightly funny moments. So, um, you know, it's what made Thor cool again, making Thor Ragnarok a funny movie. Like that's what made me like Thor. That's what made a lot of people like Thor again, is that they just changed his character to where he's not being taken so seriously, but now I feel like they're at the point where they're not taking it, they're not taking it seriously enough now. Because there's really dark themes in this movie, and I wish they would have, I wish that would have been fleshed out a little bit more, but it is what it is, and it doesn't quite necessarily bother me a whole lot at the end of the day, but it's still something that I have to kind of mark off points for. But yeah, I mean, Jane in here, Jane Foster, played by Natalie Portman, she takes up the role of Mighty Thor. She has Mjolnir, as we saw in the trailers, and she is awesome with that thing. Honestly, the fight scenes with her, I found to be really fun. She doesn't necessarily fight like, I don't want to, slight moderate spoiler here. She doesn't really fight Gore a whole lot. It's mainly just her fighting Gore's like army in a way. And he doesn't even really have like a huge army. It's basically like just these shadow monsters, but which isn't very comic book accurate, because I think in the comics, Gore actually came from the same planet that the Venom symbiote comes from, and they slightly play on that with like vines and stuff like that, but you can even tell it's not really the symbiote because they can't really do that. But yeah, Jane, I thought for the most part was pretty good in the movie. I like the design for her costume and stuff, and it was good to see Natalie Portman again and seeing her with Chris Hemsworth and them interacting and whatnot, and then also to see her and Valkyrie interact, because they really haven't before, and well, haven't at all in any of the other movies. So we finally get to see them hang out, and they kind of become like, they're cool with each other, they're sisters. I love that. That's the kind of stuff I love, just seeing characters coming together and being cool. And it's not very forced like it is in like Endgame and Infinity War, where it's like, don't worry, she's got help. It's like, no. It's like Valkyrie came from literally just like a tribe of female warriors. So it's like all of them died. We saw that in the flashback in Thor Ragnarok. So it's like she doesn't really have, she called them a sister. She doesn't really have a sister to fight with anymore. So like, yeah, I love those kinds of things. But Valkyrie, I think, kind of got pushed to the side a little bit in this movie. I would have liked her to be a little more important, especially towards the end. But, I mean, I still like Tessa Thompson as Valkyrie. She has some really great lines in here, some great moments. She's definitely a badass, so always good to see her in here. Just wish we could have gotten a little bit more. I already talked about Korg. I mean, I guess I'll talk about Chris Hemsworth now. I mean, everybody knows Chris Hemsworth. Everybody loves Chris Hemsworth. And in this movie, he definitely looks different than he did in Endgame. Definitely beefed up a lot more, lost all that fat. And honestly, I think I heard somewhere that this is the strongest he's ever been for the Thor role. And I can buy it. I'm like, dude, he looks fucking ripped. But yeah, Chris Hemsworth is great in this movie. I mean, oftentimes the humor with him, it's just like non-stop humor, but at times it really does work, and you see some of his human side, especially talking like to the kids of Asgard, because there's like kids in this that he interacts with, and it's just like those moments there humanize him so much to the point where I'm just like, God, you gotta love Thor. He's kind of arrogant, like in a way towards the beginning. It's like he's kind of getting back to that Thor 1 level of arrogance, but over the course of the film, like you just see him start to be a little, ever so slightly more serious with certain topics they bring up in this movie, having to do with the children and the sickness, like I said before. But yeah, I mean, when he gets serious, like at least a little serious, and he comes down to that human level, that's when Thor is the most Thor to me, honestly. Being a hero above all else and trying to inspire people and protect people. Like, that's what a hero should be at the end of the day, inspirational, a protector, good with kids. But yeah, I mean, Chris Hemsworth obviously knocked it out of the park here, but one thing that I will kind of spoil a little bit, mainly because it might actually be a good thing for people to know this going into it. I know Thor ended up with the Guardians at the end of Endgame, and you saw the Guardians in the trailers. They are barely in this movie, so don't expect it to be a whole as Guardians of the Galaxy movie, because that is definitely not what it is. Hopefully, we can get that in the future. I'd love to just see a whole movie where Thor and the Guardians are teaming up, but they kind of show in a way that Thor, with his power level, he just kind of, you know, they he outmatches them. Like he's way more strong. He's a lot more strong than all the Guardians combined, pretty much. Not to discredit the Guardians at all, but like he's a god and he has godlike weapons that he can use to take out whole armies at once, pretty much. So yeah, I mean, I can understand why they're not around the whole time, because it would just make things too easy. But yeah, that's I don't know if I have a whole lot of other things to say. I kind of touched on everything I really wanted to talk about. Been talking really fast without breathing a whole lot. um I do that often. But overall, I think I'm gonna put Thor in the B tier. Like I did a MCU tier list not too long back where I put in like Moon Knight and Multiverse of Madness. I'm not going to be redoing that tier list anytime soon. I'm going to wait for more releases to come out before I do that. But in terms of the tier list, I would probably put this movie in the B tier. So it's definitely underneath Thor Ragnarok, but it is above the original Thor and Thor the Dark World. So it's in my second place spot in terms of the Thor movies. Not too bad at all. I definitely liked it. I will be watching it one more time in a few weeks, like a couple weeks or so, just to take somebody with me. But 2 times was enough for me. I mean, it's not a super long movie. I could have watched it again, but I don't want it to become what Multiverse Madness became, where I just watched it too many times, even though I didn't really love it. This movie will end up on my top 10 best of this year. I don't know. Maybe. It's possible, depending on what else comes out this year. It's going to be crazy if not a single Marvel movie ends up on my top 10 best of this year, because that's what it's shaping up to be right now. We still got Black Panther. I think it's called Wakanda Forever, I'm pretty sure. That movie comes out in November, so hopefully that movie's good. But as for right now, it really depends on what else comes out and how I feel about it. I mean, Nope comes out literally like next week or the next couple of weeks, and I'm really looking forward to that. I have a feeling that'll be in my top 10 best of this year. So, I mean, there's a lot of other movies I've watched this year that I really like too. So, we'll really have to see where this lands in that top 10, if it does even end up in it. But I definitely like it more than Multiverse of Madness. Don't know if I said it before, but I really didn't care for that one too much. But as I said a few times, I don't like it more than Thor Ragnarok. So, in terms of a ranking, 1 out of 10, 10 being the best, I'd probably put it at about a 7.5. I had a lot of fun with it. There were moments that made me go, "Aw," and there were surprises in there as well. So I think it should. I tried to say shape. It shapes up to be, but I was thinking like plural. I almost said shoop. Really shooping up to be, but yeah, it turned out to be a pretty good film. Nothing too crazy for me personally. Like I said, it probably could have done with 15-20 minutes extra. There were definitely things that were cut out because there were things that were in the trailers that weren't in the movie. So I don't know. It worries me when the studio, I don't know if the studio told them to make it shorter or if it was the director or editor's decision. At the end of the day, I think either the decision goes to the director or the studio. So hopefully there's no studio meddling in this, like Warner Brothers has a problem with DC. Maybe we'll get like an extended cut when it comes out. It should be on Disney Plus in about a month. So yeah, I mean that's about how long Multiverse of Madness took to get on Disney Plus. But yeah, I think I said 7.5 out of 10 for this movie. That could change over time. It's a pretty solid film. There's a lot of movies I give really good scores to that don't end up on my top 10 best of a particular year. But I mean, there's a lot of movies I like, And there's a lot of movies where I'm just like, it's good, but it's not necessarily for me, or it's good and I wouldn't watch it again. But yeah, 7.5 I think is a pretty fair score for that. It would either be a 7 or a 7.5, but right now I'm feeling more 7.5. Yeah, there you go. That's all I got for you for this video. I was a little late to making the spoiler review just because I didn't end up recording until a little bit later in the night, so this will be out on Friday, as you're maybe watching it on Friday, the 8th. So yeah, this video will come out today, and then the spoiler review should come out tomorrow. Just so I can space things out. I'll probably be recording it right after this, but just so I can space my videos out a little bit, it'll most likely come out on Saturday. So yeah, that is all I got for you for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Hit that like button, comment down below, tell me what you thought of Thor Love and Thunder. If you've seen it, no spoilers please, because this is a spoiler-free review. If you haven't seen it, tell me if you're excited to watch it, or after my review, does it make you less or more excited? Let me know that as well. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss a new upload. And then audibletrial.com/popculturepodcast. Get yourself that 30-day free trial of Audible Premium Plus. And then also on my TeePublic store right now, if you go to the link in the bio on my Instagram, at Pop Culture Podcast. It's the same for Facebook, but I have all the links on my Instagram in the bio. I have a TeePublic store, and I actually have a new shirt up there. It's a Thor hammer. It has like the cracks in it and stuff, and it has a little patch on it that says, "Hi, my name is Jonathan," because for those Marvel fans out there who watch like every Marvel thing they can on YouTube, there's a clip where the cast of Ant-Man and the Wasp were trying to say Mjolnir, and you know, I don't know what that is. I think a coyote is screeching right now. But yeah, where was I? Yeah, there's a shirt on there. Thor hammer has the cracks in it and is inspired by the new movie. It says Jonathan on there in the clip. I forget which actresses came first, but they were like trying to say Mjolnir, and they're like Mjolnir. They're like Molnar, and then Paul Rudd is just like Jonathan. So I was like, you know what? I want to make, because I made a shirt. Let me see if it's. I think it's like right over here. Yeah. So I designed this one because of Multiverse of Madness. These won't be available for too much longer on my TeePublic store, just because Multiverse of Madness has been out for over a month, and I don't think anybody else is really going to buy it. But yeah, I wanted to make one for the release of Thor Love and Thunder. So like I said, it's the hammer Mjolnir with the cracks in it, and it has a little patch on it that says, "Hi, my name is Jonathan." And I thought it was a really funny idea. Probably nobody will buy it, but TeePublic has so many different merchandise items, and for the next couple of days, everything with that design is actually going to be 35% off. So like a t-shirt right now would be $14. So they got t-shirts, hoodies, tank tops, sweatshirts. They have mugs, tapestries. I don't think you can get tapestries with the one I have just because the image isn't large enough. But yeah, what else do they have? Wall art, phone cases, laptop cases, stickers, magnets. They have all sorts of stuff there. So many different merchandise items you can get. And like I said, that "Hi, my name is Jonathan" design is 35% off right now. Any merchandise item you decide to get it on. So please go do that if you will. I would very much appreciate it. That's all I got for you guys. I'll stop rambling, and I will see you in the next one.